Hello, Mordarim here. In today's video I want to show you a pretty decent two-hand warrior build without any magic. Yes, I know. How are you playing the game without the poison carpet? Easy. I have a massive bonk stick with a sharp edge, which I use to repeatedly jump on enemies. But that's not all. We actually also use dodge attacks. Some interesting mechanics involving possible super armor frames and a slightly sped up animation after certain action, which enables us to hit things. All of which seem to be intended. I won't lie. This build is not the strongest or most broken thing out there. That's the wizard. But it's still capable of clearing our content, albeit a bit slow. You also get to enjoy all game mechanics the game has to offer in terms of healing, recovery, and we also use the bow against flyers. So we are also able to kill them, quite efficiently at that. Flyers do not feature much health, so they are easily dealt with range attacks. Now, let me explain. The jump attack is used in this build for quite a lot of situations due to how it's providing you with not only AoE damage, but also super armor frames around the time when you are landing for the hit. I tested this one quite a lot and I saw consistency in this. But more testing is required for this to be confirmed. You can also dodge ground slams and sweep attacks of larger foes with the jump, so that's also a great way to mitigate some damage. Next up we are going to utilize the dodge attack, which functions as a gap closer and enabler for our regular attacks. The dodge attack has a slightly faster action speed, which makes it possible to abuse openings enemies provide to you. Now we can follow this attack up with a regular attack, which also benefits from this. I just had more success landing a follow-up attack due to a slight stagger on enemies, which transitions well into the third attack, which is also a sweeping attack that hits multiple enemies. So when you're getting swarmed, you're not completely lost. But there's even more. The landing attack of our glider uses a custom sweeping strike attack instead of a dodge attack, which we can use to initiate combat and cancel our attacks into it. It's much faster, but still deals damage equal to around the damage you will deal with a two-handed hit. As for sustain, we are going to use health regen, a bunch of that, bandages and health potions. Bandages are actually pretty good for this build due to their percentage health regeneration outside of combat. We can get into a safe position, use a bandage and wait for our health to regenerate. We also have just very little downtime because of this. Lastly, let's talk about the downside of this build. We have good burst damage, but the actual DPS is not very high. Ranged foes can also be troublesome, but it's not as bad as you might think. The biggest issue, however, is something else entirely. The toxic dudes are a hard counter to you at level 30. The endgame is incredibly hostile to melee combat. Before that, it is possible to beat them, especially if you isolate each enemy, but afterwards, not so much. It's extremely punishing getting in range. Even with a jump attack, you will be staggered because enemies are extremely fast, very aggressive, and don't give you enough time to recover from a jump attack. So you are getting hit after the jump attack, which is just insane. I hope someone watches this and fixes this, because this one is detrimental to the enjoyment of the game, especially in endgame combat. The enemy design in the endgame is extremely hostile towards melee characters. Until level 25, you're fine. Next, let's have a look at the attributes of this build and how to progress your character. Constitution is king, providing us with a sizable health pool. Bandages also restore a percentage of your total health pool, which is a nice bonus. Strength is up next. We want to grab as much as possible to make you hit very hard. Lastly, we are looking at a few dexterity points to make our bow hit for a good amount, but we don't go out of our way to grab those. As a note, you have 114 points at your disposal to distribute in a skill tree. Now, let's have a look at our weapons first. The first one we are going to use, and which I consider to be the best in slot weapon, is the Deep Root Axe. This one provides you with cutting damage 3 times, a critical strike damage increase 2 times, so you get 40% more critical strike damage. This weapon, however, is split damage, so it deals cutting and blunt damage. If you want a weapon with just flat damage, you can find this one. That's the Ignited Hammer. You can find this one in temple chests, in the golden temple chests. It is, however, very, very rare. I have farmed over 500 chests, even getting to 1000, and I have not seen a single weapon that's ignited. Neither the bow nor the hammer. The Deep Root Axe is much more common, so this one is the best in slot for now, if you are not lucky. Other weapons, like for example the Rot Blood, is dealing much less damage. The Shroud magic damage does not seem to provide you with any benefits here, and is just out-damaged by the Deep Root Axe. Next, for the bow, we are looking for this specific bow, the Wolf's Snarl Longbow. It deals the most amount of damage for your arrows that you're going to use. This weapon has increased fire damage, it has a ton of base power, it has additional crit strike damage and increased critical strike chance, all of which work. So this weapon is perfectly fine and performs quite well. For the arrows, use the copper arrows. Those are considerably easier to farm. You don't need feathers for them. They deal roughly the same damage than an iron arrow, but are much faster to farm. An alternative to the bow would be the ignited bow, which is a short bow. Those have a faster drawing speed. You can use them to kite around those toxic fast enemies. For the shield of light, you can find those in chests or you can craft them. For the glider, use the ghost glider. For the rings, we are going to use one ring of endless life. This one has a 3% chance to leech 100% of the damage we deal. This means if we hit for 600, we are going to leech 600 damage if this one procs. There is another ring that's giving you 5%, but I have not been able to find this one yet. And for the alternative ring, I'm going to just use the ring of health. It provides you with health regeneration, so any ring that's providing you with health regeneration will boost your power considerably. Your downtime will decrease massively. You want to have as much health regeneration as possible on this build. It doesn't matter if a ring has 20 or 30 health, the health regeneration is what matters. Another ring that can be really good is the Ring of Ancients. If they decide to fix this one would give you +1 to strength, dexterity, constitution and endurance, which you all use. But currently it only boosts the highest stat, so it's practically useless. Next up for the armor, we're going to craft the soldier helmet, which provides you with +15% melee critical strike chance and 12% damage. Critical strike damage, and you get a ton of physical resistance. Physical resistance is that which will probably kill you. So you want to have as much as possible. You're going to tank and face tank a lot of physical damage. I know this will decrease your magical resistance massively and you will suffer through magic damage. But even with 200 magic resistance, you're going to get hit very hard. And it will make it impossible to stay in melee range without the physical resistance. Now, an alternative to this one, just for the looks, is going to be the Radiant Paladin helmet. It provides you with more physical resistance, but it's missing the critical strike damage. I tested this one, which led to me dealing less damage. But if you prefer the looks, you can go with this one. I personally prefer the damage, so I'm going with the soldier helmet. Then we have the Radiant chest plate, which provides you with massive amounts of health and physical resistance. It is the best chest in the game for this kind of build, so go with that. A crafted alternative matching to the helmet is the soldier chest plate. It provides the same stats, just less physical resistance. Then I'm going to go into a topic that's really important. There are no two-handed damage gloves in the game. This means what we are going to focus on the glove slot is on the resistances. The 2% damage against melee foes also doesn't work, so those only provide you with the physical resistance. Kind of sad, but that's what we get. Then for the trousers, we're going with the Radiant Paladin trousers. You can also find those in chests. Those provide you with massive amounts of health and health regeneration as well as physical resistance. We want as much as possible, so we go with those. An alternative to those are the Eagle Eye trousers. Those provide you with sprint speed, which is around 20 to 30% more movement speed. The physical resistance is a little bit lower, but you get magic resistance. You can use those, but I prefer the additional health regen, so I have been using the other pants. If you're traveling around, keep those in your inventory so you can swap them out on the go and you're running faster. If you want to engage in combat, use the Paladin trousers. And lastly, your boots. I'm going to use the Paladin Radiant boots. Those provide you with 4 health regeneration, which is really huge, and you get a health timeout reduction. This one doesn't seem to do anything. I still regenerate my health instantaneously, so that's what we get. Those provide you with a ton of physical resistance, so I do not think there's better boots than those. You can however use regular crafted heavy armor boots. Those also provide you with health regeneration, so equip those if you can. Health regeneration will help massively in this game for a melee character. Now, like I already mentioned, you're going to use not the iron arrows, but the copper arrows. Those provide you with 14 damage instead of 21. So you're going to miss a little bit of damage, but they do not require feathers. Copper bars are extremely easy to acquire, and twigs you can just farm. So acquire those and you can craft around 1000 to 2000 arrows very fast. It is much easier to use this specific arrow than the iron arrow. The feather gatekeep is too much. The exploding arrows can be crafted and used, but they require black powder, so that's 5 black powder. It's insane. So do not craft those arrows. Those are just not worth it. They deal not enough damage to be worth it. You also only get 25. So let's move to our moveset. You have a 1, 2, 3 combo, which is quite slow. You have only one sweeping attack, which I do not understand. This weapon should have only sweeping attacks, wide range sweeping attacks with super armor on it. Otherwise, you're going to get staggered constantly, but that's on the devs, not on me. For your jump attack, you are going to jump one time and then you're going to attack and it will automatically jump a little bit higher to perform that jump attack. You can do your double jump and then increase the damage like this. This is considered really good versus specific enemies where you need to jump above their attacks. Otherwise, use your regular jump attack. It's faster, it's more safe, and you can afterwards still not roll, but yeah, don't know why that's designed like that. So you need to finish the animation before you can roll out of damage, which is really, really bad versus specific enemies. As for your dodge attack, you're going to perform this strike. This strike can be easily followed by another attack, which is also a little bit faster. So when you're attacking, you need to take your axe behind your head and then hit the enemy. So you will see this one is a little bit slower than the regular jump combo because you don't use your axe to get it behind your head first and then you hit. It instantaneously appears behind your head and then you're going to hit. So it's faster, it's better. The follow-up attack of this one is not sped up. It has the same animation, it's a sweeping attack, so it's really, really nice to use. The maces have the same animations. When you're going to use your glide attack, you will see it uses your hand to strike. Sometimes a sword appears, which is weird, but that's the same amount of damage that you would deal with a regular attack. On a critical strike, that's around 600 to 700, which is quite nice. And for your bow, you can use jump attacks to cancel animation, charge up the attack, shoot, charge up the attack, shoot, charge up the attack, shoot. It wastes a little bit of arrows here, but I can take it. So this one can be used to kite enemies, specifically if you're running around toxic enemies and cannot progress through them. Use your bow to kite them. It's the only way to do this. Otherwise, get on a safe spot and shoot them down with an arrow. Sadly, that's the state of the game. One thing about the jump attack, when you're double jumping and then land here, so right when you're shortly before landing, you cannot be knocked out of the animation. So you get super armor on this axe. Jump attack specifically. Now, as for regeneration, have your health potions on your bar, have your bandages on your bar, have your clean bandages on your bar. Bandages restore 40% health, clean bandages restore 60% of the health. For potions, it's 200, 400, and then 800. So the 800 pots can also be farmed in specific chests in a temple area. So I have a consumable farm on my channel, so you can check out this one. You can also farm clean bandages there. Takes quite a lot of time, but for bandages you can just farm those and craft them with combining strings and torn cloths. You will have a ton of torn cloths, and strings you can craft through plant fibers. So those are in massive supply to you and you can just farm and farm and farm. Next up, the skill tree. For the start of the game, we're going to go with merciless attacks. Those can be performed quite regularly in the early game because enemies have a very lackluster stagger bar, so you can hit them a few times and then perform the merciless attack. It is possible to do in the end game, but most of the time you would either kill the enemy before you can do the merciless attack, or the stagger bar does not fill up at all and you need to parry them, which you don't want to do on this build. It's extremely tedious and slow. Afterwards, we're going to unlock one strength point, one jump attack, double jump, and jump attack 2. Pick up runner, then endurance, and wanderlust. This will increase your traversal speed a lot. You will have the additional mobility, and this is very, very important on this build. Next, we are going to unlock the last thing for our toolkit. In the tank tree, go for Constitution, Shiny Plates, then Evasion Attack, and then Battle Heal. Battle Heal will heal you for 5% of a maximum health on a critical strike, which is really nice. Next, we're going to boost our damage with Constitution, Warrior's Path, Strength, then either go Brute and Hammer Time for hammers, or Slasher and Butcher for your axes. Then pick up Veteran. At this point, flyers will appear in the game. Ranged enemies will appear in the game, so you want which have to be dealt with a bow. So you're going to invest some points here. Dexterity, Marksman, Sharpshooter, Skill Shot, Multi-Shot, and Ranger. That's about it. You don't need more points in the Ranger tree to deal damage with the bow. Then we're going to pick up the whole Barbarian tree. Go for Strength, Heavy-Handed, Strength, Constitution, Relentless first, then Breach next, Constitution, Heavy Specialization, Barbarian, and Blood Rage. Do not pick up Shockwave or Basher, those are not worth it, the point investment is too high. As for the stuff we're going to pick up, Heavy-Handed will increase the damage we deal to the stagger bar. Once we break the stagger bar, we deal 100% more melee damage for 2 seconds to them. We have Relentless, which is 10% additional critical strike chance until we deal a critical strike. So it's stacking, it's 10%, then 20, then 30, so that's really, really solid. Heavy Specialization works on two-handed axes. I tested this one. It's around 15 to 20% additional attack speed on the two-handed axe, so pick this one up. And then you have Blood Rage. When you kill an enemy in melee range, which you always do, you get a 20% damage buff, which is multiplicative. Afterwards, we're going to pick up Heavy Plates, Constitution, Tower, Strength, and Earth Aura for damage mitigation. And we're going to flesh out the build with Constitution here, Strength here, Strength here, Constitution here, another point in Strength here, then Blood Warrior. So after performing a merciless attack, we spawn a health orb, which when picked up heals for 10% of your health. Then we pick up Constitution. And lastly, we're going to pick up Good Metabolism. So this one will increase the heal from the orb to 30%, but that's not the important part. We're going to recover 20% more health with the health potions. We have a massive health pool. Currently, we are sitting at 1100 health. If we consume a meat, like for example this one, we are now sitting at 1300 health. So if we consume the best health potion, which is 800 health, we would get with the new talent 960 health instead, which is just much better. We can use this very, very well. Now we can further optimize this build through a variety of consumables and buffs. First, get your comfort up and running to not run out of stamina. Next, consume some juicy meat, early chunks of wolf meat, later on game meat to improve your health for constitution. Next up, use some berries early to access health regen. Try them to increase the duration. This is very, very important for this character. Strength is obtained through grilled corn and later hazelnuts. We're going to use hazelnuts throughout the whole game. For archery, go for dexterity food like tomatoes and bell peppers. You don't have to if you don't want to. It is better to omit the dexterity, but you can use those. Consume some elixirs for hefty boost in damage. We don't use scrolls because we cannot read. And we are also going to get access to a variety of other options for light, more stamina, and of course healing through health potions and bandages. Those can be crafted en masse at the alchemist by combining water, berries, and mushrooms. For the bandages, you can craft the regular bandages in the crafting menu for torn cloth and your strings. The better bandages need antiseptic, which can be crafted at the laboratory. And then you can craft the bandages at the huntress. You can also farm those in consumable chests. Make sure to always have bandages on you. For the end game, we will boost our strength through hazelnuts, not through the open sandwich. The open sandwich is considered a meat, which prevents us from using regular meat for HP, which is far more important. So we're going to consume some meat and lastly get your fruit bowl in there for some juicy vitamins. Now this sums up the video. If you happen to enjoy it, make sure to drop a like. If you have any questions or remarks, make sure to comment down below. You can also subscribe if you have not already. Make sure to join the channel membership to support me some more and check out my Patreon for the art I use in my thumbnail. Sorry for the voice quality, I am currently ill, but still see you next time and bye.